G'day Bomber fans, I unfortunately didn't have a game to review over the weekend because of our bye, but what that means is that I get to review our season as a whole so far, of course. So today I'm going to give you a mid-season review, talk about what I've liked, what I didn't like, give us a cheeky grade. So let's get into it. If you want a more player-focused review, check out my recent mid-season gradings video, but let's get into this one. Alrighty, quick recap. The season started with a win against the Hawks. It was a close game until we clicked into gear late, comfortably striding out to a 4-goal win. Round 2 was a 30-point loss at the SCG against the Swans, who are comfortably the best team in the league, and in hindsight, not a bad result at all. We were in this game, the scoreline flatters them. It was one of the best performances by a visiting team at the SCG this year. We followed up that game with a gritty win against the Saints in a thriller. Jake Stringer's Easter Saturday 55-metre bomb sealed it late for us, giving us 2 wins from our first 3 games. The clear low of the season for us was that gather-round performance. It was a really dismal night for us fans. We were completely belted off the park by Port Adelaide. They exposed some real issues with our midfield and team defence, issues that were rectified as we went on our unbeaten streak. We followed up that disastrous loss with a really impressive victory over the Bulldogs, had them buried. We were all over them, and it was the same the following week against the Crows. We were all over Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, but our inaccuracy in front of goals kept them in the match. 28 scoring shots to 20, but only won by a single kick, and of course this was also the game where Sam Draper decided to belly flop on the footy. Cheers umpires. Anzac Day was a thrilling draw. Neither side can really say they should have won. Both had opportunities to win, but wasted them. It was just an incredible game of footy, to be honest. We were on the road after that, and it was back to winning ways. We got the job done barely against an impressive West Coast outfit, but the following week was our best match of the season. We managed to beat GWS comfortably in the end by 20 points, keeping them to just 9 goals. That was the win that put us in the 4 and set us up for a real finals push. We had a couple of gimmies against North and Richmond, although the Dreamtime game was far from convincing, and then after that we suffered consecutive losses for the first time all year, going down against the Suns and the Blues. Both games arguably decided by bad goal kicking and efficiency inside 50, which I'm going to talk about later. So we are 4th on the ladder after our bye. Everyone in the comp has played the same amount of games as us, if not more. We have won 8 matches, drawn 1, which kind of serves as a win because of our percentage. 4 losses and a shocking percentage, as I said. But we are still in a really good spot to push for finals, possibly even a home final. So let's talk about the year. What did we initially expect coming into it, and how are we doing with those expectations? Well, at the start of the year, only the most optimistic fans would have had Essendon in the top 4 at this stage. In fact, I reckon only a handful of us had us in the 8 at this stage. I got roasted on my other channel, I think, for having the Bombers around the 8. Many were saying 9 to 14 range. A few were even thinking we would drop to the bottom 4. So the expectations were clearly not finals, but to improve on last year, and we have done that. We have become more trustworthy. Our game style is clearly one that, if we nail, has us poised not to just make up numbers in the 8. Not saying this is our year, but you can clearly see a formula for how we would make a push now, and we haven't had that for quite a while as fans. There is hope as an Essendon supporter now, which is dangerous because it's obviously the hope that kills you, but it's also fun. And I think the fun thing about this season is that we've gotten to the halfway mark and we can change our expectations on the run. It's all well and good to look at a season in hindsight and say we weren't expected to be here, so whatever happens, happens. But now I think fans are really expecting finals. Anything outside of that would be a disappointment now, and that wasn't the case at the start of the year. And there are others expecting us to make a semi-final, which definitely wasn't the requirement prior to round 1 either. I think now, though, 4th after our bye, making the 8 has to be the goal. If we miss, it's a worry. From there, we assess what our expectation is. But right now, we are clearly exceeding expectations as a team from last year. But as we learnt last season, it can quickly change. I think what we really need to see is a full season at our competitive best. No drop-off like in 2023. That would break the fan base in half. Alright, let's talk positives. What have I liked about our season so far? For starters, we are playing good, sustainable footy. It's not flashy. It's not as exciting as it has been in recent years, but it's the type of footy that can win you important games. We're harder to score against now. We're harder to put away. We've only truly been out of 1 match this year, and that was against Port Adelaide. Aside from that, we arguably could have beaten any other team we played. It's maybe a stretch, but we were only 2 goals down against Sydney late in the game before they surged. We genuinely could have beaten Gold Coast if not for poor conversion, and it's similar against the Blues. More scoring shots and opportunities, but we lost the game. We've only been put away once this season. In every other game, we have been left thinking what could have been, or we got the 4 points. And that is a good feeling to have as a fan, knowing that your team is hard to beat, because even this time last year when we were playing good footy, we had been soundly beaten by the Cats and the Lions and maybe another team, if I'm remembering. We had lost 5 matches instead of 4. We're clearly playing good footy. We are in the top 4 for a reason. You can say that we haven't had as tough a draw as others, which is true, but we can only win what's in front of us, and so far we have done that. We haven't dropped a game where we went in favourites before. We've won quite a few that we were underdogs for. We've had some inspired changes to our setup and some really impressive coaching performances. Under Brad Scott in the last 2 years, we've made Kyle Langford one of the best best forwards in the comp after he was set to play in defence. We have made Nick Martin one of the better rebounding defenders in the comp that we can also use up forward when the going gets tough. Sam Durham has improved immensely in his new full-time midfield role. Heppel has rejuvenated his career. Even the changes on the run like Nick Hind and Jai Menzies, who were struggling early in the season but have played important roles in new positions. Hind pushing as a high half forward, Menzies playing on the wing and in defence. We're noticing some injured players and their lack of availability, but Scott and his crew have at least made those losses bearable when he moves the magnets around as efficiently as he does. Not a single soul could have predicted some of these changes, and the great thing is they might not even stick, but it's the fact that he can implement those changes and improve the team because of them. That's what I really like about Brad Scott. I think he's coaching this team very well right now. Our midfield is battered and bruised. Parrish, Draper, and Setterfield have missed most of the season. Guys like Durham and Perkins haven't played every game, but we have the 5th best contested possession differential, the 5th best centre clearance differential, the 2nd best disposal. It's wild to think that we are putting up really good numbers like that while missing 3 of our most important clearance-based players. It's Merritt who leads the way, but credit has to go to Durham and Caldwell and others who fly under the radar to those who don't support the Bombers. There are still lapses. That Port game was a worry. We struggled against Richmond and North as well. That's the worry. And when our midfield is poor, we are poor as a team, but it's the fact that it's so rare that's promising to me, especially when we have all these players missing from the team. Unfortunately, we won't see Parrish back for a little while, but when he returns, I think our midfield is up there. All right, what haven't I liked about this season? Maybe it's recency bias, but I think our conversion and general efficiency in the forward half of the field has been genuinely woeful. We are ranked 3rd for inside 50s per game in the comp, but we are below average for goals scored per game. We haven't scored under 10 points since our win against the Bulldogs in a match in round 6, and most recently we have lost 2 games because we kicked ourselves out of it. We should have beaten Gold Coast, we could have beaten Carlton, but our efficiency was just not good enough. It's a tough season that's only going to be made tougher if you make games harder to win off your own boot. The fact of the matter is, in 2 of our 4 losses, we put ourselves in positions to win, but ultimately we're not good enough at finishing opportunities or creating them going inside 50s, and that's what can kill teams late in September. We need to see it fixed in the second half of the year. Essendon for a long time have not been a ruthless team, so even when we have had 6 or 7 games in a row without loss, we didn't really do any proper damage to any teams. Our biggest win this year is 40 points, and every game outside of that has been under 30 points. It's why we have double the amount of wins than losses, but still have the 7th worst percentage in the competition. We are sitting 4th on the ladder with a horrible percentage. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's been a weird year, and with a draw, percentage becomes a little less important. I understand that, but it's a good indicator of where a team sits usually, percentage, and our percentage is nothing special at all. We have done well to surge and put on a few goals in between ourselves and our opponents in games, but we can never put the foot on the throat and pile them on like other great teams can. It's a stressful life being an Essendon fan, and it's even more stressful when a season is as competitive as this one, so it's tough to read. It doesn't help when they're making it harder on ourselves by not being able to put teams away, not just put bad teams away, but put teams away. We have played all of the bottom 5 teams this year and have won 3 of those games by under a goal, and that's just not good enough. I think a big issue is the fact that a lot of our high-profile players and highest earners at the club are just not performing to the best of their ability. Peter Wright is one that many will point fingers to, but you look at guys like Dylan Shield as well, who hasn't been able to break into the senior team. Sam Draper is injured, but wasn't playing that well before his injury, and it's a positive in a way that we have played good footy with important players missing or bad. Remember that Parrott has also missed a lot of footy, but think about how much we could be better if stars were firing consistently. You look at the Everything Essendon Player of the Year votes. After Merritt, it's a logjam. No one else is really having the standout year. Even guys like Martin or Langford, who are All-Australian contenders, haven't been consistent. We don't have many leaders at Essendon, but it would be great to see some really stand up in the second half of the year. So what do the Bombers need to do to improve? For starters, obvious one is goal kicking and efficiency going forward. I love being a team who controls the field and controls possession well. We are very good at doing it, but it means nothing having so many repeat inside 50s if it means that we don't do anything with it. We could have won games if it wasn't for goal kicking, and there were others that we almost lost because of it. And speaking of games we almost lost, we need to start winning comfortably. The easiest way to exhaust yourself is make every game a tough one, and that is what we're currently doing. We aren't doing it easy. We need to start putting teams away, starting with West Coast this week. And something else, we need to really get another big scalp. Our win against GWS was good. The Dogs win was impressive too, but we need to claim another big scalp to show we mean business. We have a tough stretch of games. We won't make finals if we lose all of them. So to get into that 8 or stay in the 8, we need to make sure we win the games that we aren't supposed to win, the ones that we are heavy underdogs for. That would actually give me hope as a fan. Do I think we're going to make the 8? I think we have to, surely, from here. I think we've set ourselves up with a really nice launch pad for September footy, and anything other than finals would be really disappointing. So really what we need to do is not implode like we did last season. I think we make the 8 from here. Picking a grade at this stage of the year is always tough because there is still so much footy left to play. We have had a pretty easy draw compared to most. We've only beaten one team in the top 8, but you look at where we are, 4th on the ladder, having played less games than others in the comp. I think you would have to be a really pessimistic individual to give us anything below an A, considering we were expecting to be fighting for finals, not inside the top 4. I wouldn't be surprised if we were to fall out. It happened last year. You don't just forget about that, but we can't grade our season based on what we think is going to happen next. We have to look at what we have done so far, and so far it's been really good. We are 4th for a reason. We're winning games, not easily, but we're winning games, so I'm going to give us an A-. The minus only because we haven't had those impressive wins that other teams around us have had yet. If we had beaten Collingwood or Carlton, I'd bump it up, but it's still hard to trust Essendon right now. We are a lot more trustworthy, but being a fan, it's easy to look at the season glass half empty and worry about what is to come because of what we haven't been able to do so far. Another scalp or two, and I'm on the finals victory train. Alright, that is that mid-season review. Let me know what you think down below. Are you happy with our season so far? Give your grade down below for the Bombers. Make sure you like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and as always, go Bombers.